So welcome everybody in the room, everybody online. Welcome to Kagyu Samye Dzong Edinburgh for our study and meditation course. This will be the second part of our course on Milarepa songs. So before we start, I think we should get our minds in the right place, and let's say the Vajradhara Lineage prayer. So we'll chant that together in English. O great Vajradhara Tilo Naro Marpa Mila Dharma Lord Gampopa, knower of the 3 times, omniscient Karmapa, holders of the 4 elder and 8 younger lineages, Drikuntaklung and the Salpa, glorious Rupa, and so forth, masters of the profound path of Mahamudra, to the Darpo instruction lineage, the peerless protectors of wanderers. Kagyu Lamas, I supplicate you, I uphold your lineage. Grant the blessings of your liberating lives. Just as revulsion is taught to be the legs of meditation, this meditator clings not to food and riches, and has severed the ties to worldly life. Grant your blessings for detachment from honor and gain. Just as devotion is taught to be the head of meditation, this meditator constantly prays to the Lama, who opens the vault of pith instructions. Grant your blessings for uncontrived devotion to wellforth. Just as non-distraction is taught to be the body of meditation, this meditator simply remains without altering the fresh essence of whatever thought arises. Grant your blessings for parting from the concept of meditation. Just as thought is taught to be in essence Dharmakaya, for this meditator unhindered manifestation dawns. Nothing whatsoever dawning as whatever may appear. Grant your blessings to realize inseparable samsara nirvana. May I never in future lives part from authentic lamas, and embracing ever the glory of Dharma. May I perfect the qualities of the levels and paths, and thus swiftly attain the state of Vajradhara. Paden Sawe Lama Rinpoche Dagi Chiwo Pende de Shukla Kajin Chimbo Gone Jisungde Kusum Tuchi Ngudrup Sautu So. Okay, so today we're on to the second of part of our course, and we'll be studying another 4 songs. So this chapter is called the chapter of the Jung Sky Fortress. That's because there's a narrative in between the songs, obviously, so that you know the context in which they were offered, in which they were given. And like the first part that we did with the chapter of Mila Gathers Wood, it's part of the same cycle. The songs are in different cycles, the way they're set out. And the thing which puts them into this particular first cycle is because it comes into the focus of Milarepa's binding of the harm-inflicting spirits. Do you remember in the first one there were all these obstructing spirits, and he had to subdue them, and then they ended up being kind of becoming part of his entourage in a way, or helpers, let's say. So this next chapter has that aspect, although it's I wouldn't say it's the predominant one in this. I think the predominant focus in this one is we see Milarepa engaging with human beings. Because if you remember the first time he engaged with the spirit world, he engaged with Marpa, who was a vision, but there was no human interaction. So that's what we come to find in this one. So let's get on with it. So I'm going to read the introduction, the sort of first part of it, where we get to understand why he's there, what he's doing, and then the songs start to appear. So, Namo Guru. The Jetsun Milarepa went from Rakma, which was another solitary place. You have to remember he's wandering from one solitary place to the next solitary place, really in the middle of the most remote countryside. Countryside makes it sound very cozy. It's actually much more wild than that. If you've ever been to Tibet, it's more like being on the moon. So he went from Rakma to where we are now at the Jangpen Sky Fortress. It's like a fortress for his body and for his mind. Not literally a fortress in the military sense of the word. And while he was staying there, at one point, a monkey appeared, riding on a rabbit. A little bit unusual. And not only that, but the monkey wore armour made of barley husks, and he held a bow and arrow made of straw. Somewhat eccentric. The monkey looked to see if he could advance on Milarepa. It kind of looked a bit threatening with his straw bow and arrow. And the monkey said, well, actually the Jetsun is an honorific term, so sometimes Milarepa is referred to as Jetsun. It's a high term for him. And so the monkey had this look on his face, and the Jetsun just chuckled. And the monkey said, I have come to frighten you, but if you're not frightened, I'll go. And the Jetsun said, I am resolved that appearances are mind. I've seen that mind itself is Dharmakaya. So, spirit, whatever magic you may show, it just makes this yogi laugh. Thus he sang, and then the spirit committed to serving Milarepa and vanished like a rainbow. It was like he straight away committed himself to Milarepa and to the Dharma, and then he just vanished. Now it turns out that this spirit was actually the king of Drotang. Drotang is that area, so he was the Drotang king. It doesn't say here, but I can only surmise that he must have heard that this great yogi was in his territory, in the area, and that he was curious to see, is he the real deal or not? You know, so he appeared in this. I mean, he must have had some pretty good realization to be able to turn himself into a monkey riding on a rabbit. So he obviously came to test Milarepa, it sounds like, and obviously Milarepa passed the test. And that was enough for the king, and then off he went. Now, having got the sort of recommendation or support of the king, the next thing that happens was that some benefactors of that area of Drotang came to meet Jetsun. So you have to bear in mind, he's in the middle of nowhere, so they would have had to make quite a journey up into the mountains, and a pilgrimage, you could say. And so they came to Milarepa's cave, and he came out, and he made himself available for them, and they were benefactors, so they probably brought some provisions with them, offerings, and then they asked, what are the good qualities of this place where you're staying at? What are the good qualities that make it a good place for your retreat? And Milarepa sang this song of realization in reply. So we have Milarepa extolling the qualities of the place. Lord Guru, I supplicate you, do you know this place's good qualities or not? If you don't know the qualities of this place, this is the Changpen Sky Fortress, a solitary retreat. At the palace of this sky fortress here, above, clouds from the south gather in darkness. Beneath are fresh and clear waterfalls. Behind are red rocks and the expanse of sky. In front are meadows with radiant flowers. To the side, fierce beasts let out their great roar. At its face, the vultures, king of birds, soar. In the sky, misty fine rain comes down, and bees are ever humming their tune. Deer and wild ass, mother and child dance in their play. Monkeys and langurs leap and run about. Larks with their chicks let out many a peep, and mountain grouse make melodious songs. The clear highland springs babble pleasantly. All these sounds, each at their time, are experience's friend. This place's good qualities are inconceivable, and my mind is so happy I burst into song. Key instructions now come forth from my speech. All you male and female benefactors gathered here, follow after me and do as I have. Abandon negativity and practice virtue. So that was his song, his response to the group of pilgrims who had come to see him, the benefactors. They asked him to describe the good qualities of the place, and so he did. Now, let's just go over it in a bit more detail. So he always starts with Lord Guru, I supplicate you, or a similar invocation to Marpa, to his root guru. He asks for Marpa's blessing before he starts teaching, starts singing in his case. Then he asks them, do you know this place's good qualities or not? If you don't know the qualities of this place, and then he starts to describe it. So this is Changpen Sky Fortress. It's a solitary retreat. That's the kind of fortress it is. He also sees it as a palace. At the palace of this sky fortress here, he considers it, for him it is a palace. It's a rocky cave in the middle of nowhere. But for him it's a palace, because he has everything he needs. He's already given up all the comforts and distractions of life, so a rocky cave in the middle of nowhere is exactly perfect. It's a palace. Above, clouds from the south gather in darkness. Beneath are fresh and clear waterfalls. So he has fresh water, it's good. Behind are red rocks and the expanse of sky. In Tibet you see skies, just endless skies. You don't, we're in a city, we never see skies like that. But you can imagine maybe there's just endless expanse of sky. In front are meadows with radiant flowers, so it seems like it's fertile, that things grow, so he must have maybe at least some nettles to eat. To the side, fierce beasts let out their great roar. The fierce beasts in that kind of country, I would imagine, would be mountain lions, snow lions maybe, snow leopards. We're talking serious felines here, not pussycats. And so, it's a wild place. It's beautiful, but it's very wild. In the sky, misty fine rain comes down, bees are ever humming, deer and wild ass, mother and child dance in their play. There's lots of wildlife. Monkeys and langurs leap and run about. The larks with their chicks peeping, the mountain grouse singing, and the clear highland springs babble pleasantly. So it's a pleasant place when he's looking down into the plains and the valleys below. It's a very pleasant place, but it's wild. It's also savage. But you might think that all of these, the sort of cozy parts of it and all the animals playing could be very distracting. Probably we would get engrossed in it, wouldn't we? Well, what are they doing now? No, how's that? You get totally caught up in the wildlife. But he says that all these sounds and sights, I think we can take it, each at their time are experience's friend. So whatever he encounters, whether it's wild beasts or gentle rabbits or langurs and monkeys running about, whatever he encounters, he makes it his friend of his experience. By experiencing means his practice. He turns it all to practice. So, in other words, he sees it, he takes it in, he's aware of it, of course, but he just turns it into his practice on the path. So it becomes a friend rather than a distraction. So this is what we need to take from it for our own practice. This is the whole point of this, by the way, is not just to read this, but to apply how he thinks and how he acts to our own practice. That's why we're studying from the master, from Milarepa. He's the best teacher of all. So when we're meditating, when we're doing our practice, whatever sounds we hear, and it may be monkeys and things, but it might be traffic, it might be birds, it might be roadworks, we shouldn't be judgmental about it. Whatever the sound is, make it your friend. Don't make it your enemy. It's just sound. And when you hear it, you're always in the present, because the sound only exists in the present, doesn't it? It makes me think of Lama Yeshe, Lama Yeshe Rinpoche, when he was on retreat in Pure Lands, and he talks about, having a lot of building work going on all around him, so much so that they would even put big sacks of plaster in his porch, he has a lung problem, he only has one lung, so it wasn't even easy to breathe, let alone the sound. But he had to deal with it, and he had to make it his friend. Otherwise there's no meditation. So he says all these sounds, each at their time, whichever comes up, our experience's friend. This place's good qualities are inconceivable. If you know how to look, if you know how to listen, then all these qualities, these things that could be distractions, become qualities to aid his practice. So much so that he's so happy with the conditions here that he's burst into song, and these key instructions come forth from his speech to all you male and female benefactors gathered here. And finally he says, if you really want to gain from this, follow after me and do as I have. Abandon negativity and practice virtue. Now, there's a lot in that, isn't there? It sounds easy, but it doesn't. It sounds so simple, isn't it? It's just abandon what's not good and do what's good, you know. Basically, that's what he's saying. If it was easy, we wouldn't need to be studying this, because we would just be doing the right thing all the time. And as human beings, even when we know what might be the right thing, we still do the wrong thing. Otherwise, there'd be no such thing as drug addiction, for example, or alcoholism. We know it's no good, but we do it. There's many, many things like that. Abandon negativity and practice virtue. Also, another thing we can take from it is to imagine ourselves living in that kind of environment, you know. There's nothing there, there's no people there. You don't see a living being apart from the animals, but you don't see any people. It's a wild place, isn't it? And to sustain your life, you're just thrown onto your own resources, you know, whatever you can make of it. So you need to really live very simply, very austerely, and make do with what little you have. And maybe now and again some benefactors might rock up once every few months, but maybe not, you know, so you cannot depend on that. So I think, you know, contrast it with our situation. I mean, we go a bit crazy if the shop's shut early or something, you know. It's like, but imagine Buddha being like that, though, you know, just really in the middle of nowhere with nothing. But at least it sounds like it is fertile, and so that maybe there are some herbs that he can gather, and there's fresh water. So I'm sure that's one of the things that he would need for his retreat, and he chose it. So, just I think when you're going through this yourself, really imagine yourself being in that kind of situation, you know, and how you would cope. So thus he sang. Now, among the people gathered there was one mantrika who said, well, first of all, mantrika, I think I should explain. Mantrika is somebody who has some practice and they use mantras for their practice. It doesn't go into any more detail about what practice this person does, but obviously they have some sort of practice. So this group of people gathered round, and this one mantrika who asked him, he said, Jetsun, on this joyous occasion of our having met you, please give us the gift of an instruction that is easy to understand and easy to put into practice. Please explain to us how to practice the view, the meditation, and the conduct. We can tell from that question that the person has some knowledge, the way he's phrased the question. You know, he's talking about the view, the Buddhist view, the meditation, the kind of practice they should do, and how to apply it in the conduct they should have from having that. So somebody with some knowledge has asked that question. But he has specified that he wants it to be really easy, so really easy to understand and easy to put into practice. So, the Jetsun, ever obliging, sang this song, the second song we're going to look at, which is Milarepa, explains the view, the meditation, and the conduct. May the Guru's blessing enter my mind. Grant your blessing that I realize emptiness. In response to these benefactors with great faith, I'll sing a song to please the Udam Deities. Appearance, emptiness, their inseparability, these three things summarize the view. Clarity, non-conception, and non-distraction. These three things summarize the meditation. Non-attachment, non-clinging, continuity. These three things summarize conduct. No hope, no fear, no confusion. These three things summarize fruition. No deception, no hypocrisy, no pretense. These three things summarize Samye. So, in terms of length, that's quite a short song, isn't it? Quite a short instruction. But it is so full of meaning, and it's so profound, and yet it's extremely concise. Everything is really so concise. So I'm not sure how easy the mantrika will find that, so let's unpick that a little bit. So may the Guru's blessing enter my mind. Grant your blessing that I realize emptiness. That's addressed to Marpa again. Always he has his Guru high above him. So he says, in response to these benefactors with great faith. So he's acknowledging that they have faith, and that's one of the most important requisites. You can't really proceed without it. So he says, that these benefactors, they're benefactors, so they're generous, so that's another good quality, and they have great faith. So they have some good abilities, qualities. I'll sing a song to please the Udam Deities. So the Udam Deities are the meditational deities. There are many different kinds depending on the practice that you're doing. But for example, here we do Chenrezig puja, we do Tara puja. So if you're doing any kind of a practice that has Udam, so these are the Udam deities are what help our practice blossom, develop. So he says he'll sing a song to please the Udam deities. It's an offering in a way. Not in a way, it definitely is an offering. And then he's also addressing them, but benefactors is in response. So he says appearance, emptiness, their inseparability, those three things summarize the view. He asked about the view. So it's extremely concise, and it's from a very high point of view, from an enlightened person's understanding. So it's not easy for us to understand. Of course, we understand the words. We know what the word appearance means. We know what emptiness means, and we know what inseparability means. But we don't really know how he's putting them together, what they mean in that with those three together. Now this is for you to delve into. This is not my job, this is your job. This is your practice, this is a study course, so what you do in between, I'm just presenting it. I can say a few things, but I don't want to say too much because then it's my view and it's really up to your view. But all I can maybe say a few fairly I would say that, appearance, anything that appears, anything at all, that has an appearance, whether it's a being or some nature, or whatever it is that appears in our life, it's saying it's empty. So even though it has an appearance, it's intrinsically empty. Yes, you can see it or feel it or touch it or whatever. So there is an appearance there. So how can it be that it's empty? And this is what you need to explore. You know, it is said that emptiness is not just some sort of void, you know, some nothingness. It means really to do something with the emptiness is empty of having any independent existence. Because everything is dependent on everything else. But nothing is totally independent. Nothing exists independently. So it's empty of that. So that's one way of looking at it. There may be more, probably are. But that's the kind of emptiness that it means, that even though something can be very solid and appear really, really solid, it can't exist on its own. It's in essence, it's illusory. You could say it has an illusory appearance. Sometimes I think about something like, then the third thing is their inseparability. So anything that appears is also empty, and that's inseparable. You can't separate the emptiness from the appearance. It's part of it. It's empty of it. It's empty of emptiness. That it's inseparable. It cannot. That quality of emptiness is ipso facto part of the appearance. Now this is for us to really look into, because okay, we can read it, we can understand the words to some extent, but we don't get the full meaning without the experience, and that comes with practice, that comes with meditation, and no amount of however many words I could say to describe something, even if I had them, wouldn't help you, really. I mean, a little bit, maybe, just to give you a clue, but then it's up to you to experience it, and nobody can experience it for you. Appearance, emptiness, their inseparability. If I look at it in a very simplistic way, and this is only a metaphor, remember, this is not how it is, but it's a metaphor. The one that helps me a little bit is, if I think of the ocean as an appearance, isn't it? The ocean is the ocean. And then imagine a big wave coming into the ocean. So we can say, okay, well, that's a wave. A wave is an appearance also. We have this appearance of a wave. And yet the wave is part of the ocean. And when that wave subsides, it goes back into the ocean. It was never separate from the ocean. They were inseparable all along. But momentarily there was a bit of an appearance of some conditions came together to produce this sort of outlying bit of wave on the ocean, and then it subsided. So I think of it as something a little bit, that helps me get a handle on it, but that's not it. That's only the handle, or possible handle. And you'll find different handles yourself, maybe. So all of these things need to be really, really gone into. We could just do nothing but this song for the next, probably lifetime, actually, maybe several lifetimes. So please don't rush through this. Oh, that summarizes the view. Right, got that, tick. That's off the bucket list. What's he got to say about the next thing? Meditation. Right, let's move on to that. You know, I mean, also all the things that he's talking about are all, of course, connected. So I would spend plenty of time on that, again and again and again. Then he talks about the meditation. So he's talked about the view. Now, how to get the view is to meditate. So that's the next thing. So what is that? So it's clarity, non-conception, and non-distraction. These three things summarize meditation. If you had to put it into an absolute nutshell, that's the crux of the matter. So the qualities of your meditation should be, first of all, clarity. There should be some clarity there. You're not sort of cloudy and drowsy and kind of dull. That dullness is the opposite of clarity, isn't it? So it's not that. It's got its sort of self-luminosity, this clarity. You can characterize it like that. And then non-conception. No conception about, I should be meditating like this, I should be meditating like that, I'm supposed to not be having any thoughts, I'm supposed to sit like this. All of these are concepts. Of course, you need some guidance to put you in a good position, but once you start your practice, that's it. You're there with your mind. Non-conception. We read it when we say the Vajradhara prayer. It's all in there as well. They all back each other up. It means not contrived. It means being natural, not conceiving this and that and the other. Like, sometimes you hear about having a childlike mind when a child goes into a temple and he's just like, wow. And he's not thinking, oh, I wonder where that painting came from, or which one is it? It's just wow, just open. And then non-distraction. So, of course, when we're meditating, we're constantly getting distracted by this and that. But that's not meditation, is it? That's distraction. So either you're meditating or you're distracted. So when we're sitting on our cushions meditating, are we actually meditating or are we distracted? If we're lucky, it's a bit of both. And maybe the percentage of distraction far outweighs the percentage of meditation. But you've got to start somewhere. And then when you're distracted, you need to know that you're distracted. Because if you don't know that you're distracted, then you will just stay distracted. That's why we always need to be watchful and watch our minds. Because the minute something comes up, you don't need to block it. You just need to see it for what it is. And whatever it is, nice, not nice, there's no judgment involved in this. You just notice, oh, I seem to be getting distracted here. Okay, I'll put that down. Maybe meditate a bit then after that. And then the next time, and the next time, and the next time, and the next time. So it's like you need to have your mind very alert, very clear, very non-judgmental, not beat yourself up about it, oh no, I've had another thought, I'm not so... Of course you're having thoughts. That's the function of the mind. It is one of its main functions is to have thoughts. But to rest undistracted by those thoughts when you're meditating. So those three summarize meditation. So it's one thing to say it. It's a very different thing to do it. I think when we meditate, if you have, maybe you should write that down and have it right in front of you, just to sort of, well, you won't see it if it's on your forehead, but somewhere where you can remind yourself, but not be distracted by it either. So yeah, but it's really so important, because you can't have the view without the meditation. And then, okay, so maybe you have got the view, maybe you've got the meditation. So then what do you do? How should you act? How should you live? How should you be? How should you conduct yourself? Non-attachment, non-clinging, continuity. These three summarize conduct. So non-attachment, not attached to anything. That doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't enjoy things, but without attachment. Non-clinging and not grasping onto them. Oh, I've got this, this book is so nice, and I really like this book, and I'm going to keep it forever, and don't anyone ever even think about borrowing it because this is mine. That's the clinging, isn't it? Not only have you got it, you wanted it, you've got it, and you're not letting anybody else have it because you need to keep it with you at all times. So that's the clinging. And then, so we don't want that, which not, sorry, just disturbing the microphones a bit. Non-detachment, non-clinging. And then it says continuity, which I think here means that it's not coming and going, that it's continuous. So there's a sort of diligence is implied here as well, and watchfulness and awareness. There's a lot, really, that you need to maintain that kind of conduct, isn't it? And it's not just something that's sporadic and comes and goes, but that you stabilize it. So that's your state of being. And when I say those words, I think of Akam Rinpoche. I don't know, he just popped into my mind as the perfect illustration of that. Non-attachment, non-clinging, and this stability throughout, this constancy. These three things summarize conduct. I mean, most of us, we might be nice one day and not so nice the other, and we might be all calm and peaceful one day, and then we get cross with somebody. We're up and down the whole time. So this is how to conduct yourself. Non-attachment. Because once you're attached, then you're on a ride to, you're on a ride to nowhere, basically, because with the attachment comes the grasping, and then that's like what you want and what you don't want. It also implies what you don't want. So you're constantly running between the two, and that's how we'll fuel our neurosis. Now, those are the three things that the benefactor asked for, wasn't it? The view, the meditation, and the conduct. But Milarepa goes further, and he says, no hope, no fear, no confusion. These three things summarize fruition. In other words, when you have all these, then it's like it bears fruit. You get the fruition. These are the fruition of having the correct view, the correct meditation, and the correct conduct. When all that comes together, then you have this fruit, and the fruit is no hope. Sounds a bit weird to our ears, doesn't it? Because we're always told we must have hope. Without hope, life's impossible. But the reverse side of hope, and we touched on this last time, but here it says it very, very boldly, no hope. The other side of the coin is no fear. With hope comes fear. With fear comes hope. I want that to happen. I'm hoping for that to happen. I fear that happening. I do not want that to happen. And then confusion. Isn't it? Because you're running towards one, you're running away from the other, you're trying for this, you don't want that, and you're constantly caught between the two, spending all your energy and getting more and more confused. I want this to happen, I don't want that to happen. I hope this will be right, I fear it might go belly up, So we're always in this state of anxiety, really, which we create for ourselves. That's not to say that we're never in bad, unwanted situations, but when we react in this way, it just makes it 10 times worse, because we're not dealing with the reality of it. We're always hoping for some unreachable thing, and we're fearing some other thing. And actually, we can create more of that. Of course, like all of these things, it's easy to say, hard to realize. And, it does seem to be contrary to a lot of what we get told in our normal life, our everyday life. But this is one of the characteristics of the Dharma. Often it's really going against the grain of received, can't really call it wisdom, received customs, let's say. So, of course, not always. Sometimes they might find themselves accidentally flowing in the same direction, but very often it's opposite. Even you could say to what we spend our times doing and acting in this kind of neurotic way, which leads to more suffering. Hence, conflict, wars, famine, a whole kit and caboodle. So all of these are incredibly profound. And then finally he moves on to no deception, no hypocrisy, no pretense. These three things summarize Samye. So Samye is a kind of sacred commitment, can take the form of vows also, but it usually kind of has implicit, I would say it has implicit a guru, your root guru, or the Buddha, or whoever's teaching you, whoever you're receiving your guidance from, whoever you have vows with. Samye, it doesn't only mean vows, but it means your commitment to be to hold that person, that teacher in high regard, and not to do what they're guiding you to do, because they have so you have to be very careful about your teacher, because you take a commitment to follow them, to follow their guidance. So you need to really have trust and faith in them. Otherwise you'll be very uncomfortable. And so if you have a teacher, a root guru, or you're learning from books, from the Buddha, from texts, let's say, no deception. You don't deceive the guru. Even in a little thing, even in a tiny thing, you do not deceive the guru. No hypocrisy. You don't sort of say that I've studied all of this book, when actually you haven't, or that you're hypocritical in some way. Maybe you say you give them a lot of praise, but you don't really. It's not that authentic. You can pretend to be so holy, and lots of offerings and katas and flowers and all of this stuff, but it's not coming from a good place. It can be hypocritical. And no pretense, which is sort of similar in a way, isn't it? Pretending to have done something or be somebody that you're not. Well, first of all, it's a waste of time, because any guru worth a salt can see right through you. So why bother and give yourself a headache and also break your Samye, which is the most important thing. So no deception, no hypocrisy, no pretense. And sometimes we might not mean to do that, but maybe out of habit we want to appear better than we are, or maybe we want the guru to think well of us, so we just sort of, just maybe tweak it a little bit here and there, or we don't fully come clean about something that maybe, they won't find out, so I'll just let sleeping dogs lie. It can be that kind of, we can give ourselves excuses. If in doubt, tell them. It makes me think of something that happened to me with, I thought I'd done something wrong, and I was on retreat in Sekar with Dripan Rinpoche. And I lived up these stairs, and then you get off onto the level that you're at, and then you go to your room. But somehow I must have been a bit distracted, and I found myself going up an extra flight of stairs, and found myself on the roof of this building, which I thought, And then I started looking around, and then there's this other building there with some llamas in it, which I was, oh wow, that's where they live. And I and then after about a few seconds I thought, oh, I wonder if I'm supposed to be seeing, because they were on closed retreat. And I thought, oh, maybe not, And so then I went down, but it was bugging me, And I thought, oh, golly. I think I shouldn't have seen that. And what if they saw it? They might have seen me as well, I don't know. I was up there for maybe no more than 10 seconds. But it wouldn't let me lie. So the next time I was in lunch, I can't speak Tibetan, and Drupal Rinpoche doesn't speak English. And anyway, I didn't see him, but I did see Kunga, who's a friend of mine and who is his translator. And I blurted it all out to Kunga. I said, listen, I think I might have made a boo-boo here. It wasn't intentional, but I did hang out for a few seconds, and then I related the whole thing. And I thought, oh, I'll be in for it next, because the next time you're in the sort of session where everybody is, and he has a kind of like an assembly, you could say, and then he'll shoot people down in no uncertain terms, because he's telling people what they need to hear. He's not being mean to them, he's instructing them, but he can be quite tough, quite severe. So I was fully expecting to get it in the neck. Anyway, sat there and he didn't say anything, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe Kunga's not told him, or maybe it's not such a big deal. Anyway, then I thought, okay, and then I got back to my room, and there was a pot of yogurt there from Drupal Rinpoche. He had a little note saying, I can only think that he saw that I'd come clean and it wasn't a big deal, and that I don't know, but it might have just been coincidence that the pot of yogurt appeared. But anyway, it was not only did I not get told off, I actually got a pot of yogurt. So I'm only saying this to illustrate the fact that it's good to be clean, to come clean, even if you think you've done something wrong, and even if it's not a big deal, because it could have been a big deal. Maybe I really wasn't supposed to see those people, maybe they saw me, maybe they didn't, I don't know, but I knew it was eating away at me, and so that's when you definitely need to say it, to come clean. Okay, that's my personal anecdote about keeping Samye, but of course it can be a lot more serious than that. So no deception, no hypocrisy, no pretense. These three things summarize Samye. So he'd not only answered their questions, but he'd gone a lot further. And of course, all of them follow on from another. They're all completely related. They're all different aspects. It's like one jewel with a lot of different facets on. You can't really separate them, but they are different facets that you can look into one by one, but they're all part of the same view and understanding of the conduct and the fruition. Samye, all part of the same jewel, the fruit of enlightenment, you could say, of being an enlightened being, having this view that we're working towards, so we're all just on the path towards it. So when Milarepa had sung this, they all returned back to their homes filled with faith. They were so inspired. Then, after several days, many of the students, by now they're his students, came again to meet Milarepa. And those who had been earlier asked, Jetsun, are your body and mind well? Inquiring after Milarepa's health. And in reply he sang this song of realization. But first I'm going to have a drink of water. So Milarepa is answering them and describing his state of body, speech and mind. He's giving them a very full answer. We just say to people, how are you? How are you doing? Especially the lamas, we definitely, how's your health? Are you good? And we just expect them to say, I'm fine, which is often what they do because they don't want to go into it. But here, he's giving them a teaching. So maybe they're not expecting that. Maybe they're just expecting him to say, I'm okay, or maybe I've got a pain in my back, or whatever they're expecting, I don't know. But he gives them a teaching. I bow at the feet of the noble Guru in this place, an isolated forest without any humans. Milarepa's meditation feels so good. My sitting and walking without clinging feels good. My illusory body, free of illness, feels good. My sitting without any sleep feels good. My concept-free samadhi feels good. My chandali, free of chills, feels good. My austerity, free of dejection, feels good. My harvest that is free from toil feels good. My isolated place, free of distraction, feels good. This is the state of my body. And he continues, my jnana with means and prajna feels good. My creation and completion in union feels good. My mindfulness, free of prana coming or going, feels good. My silence without friends to talk to feels good. This is the state of my speech. My view that is free of identification feels good. My meditation that's always flowing feels good. My conduct that never degenerates feels good. My fruition without hope and fear feels good. This is the state of my mind. Unchanging, non-conceptual luminosity feels good. Great bliss in perfect purity's space feels good. Unceasing manifestations in the expanse feels good. This short little tune of feeling so good is just my experience put into song, with view and conduct joined together. Henceforth, you who strive towards awakening, whenever you practice, do it like this. Well, that was some answer to how you're feeling. You know, he really must have felt that they were able to receive it. He wouldn't waste his words. So, again, we'll go back and have a bit more of a look at it. So, of course, he always starts with bowing to Marpa, the feet of the noble Guru, in this place, an isolated forest without any humans, other than the ones that have just come to see him. So everything he talks about is just so good. There's nothing wrong at all. Everything is as he needs it to be. It's all good. It's literally all good. Meditation's good. When he sits and walks, that also is good. Without clinging, he's not trying to do this or trying to do that. He's just sitting or he's walking without any wanting or clinging involved. My illusory body, free of illness, feels good. Well, first of all, he's saying it's illusory. He sees his own body and everybody else's body as illusory. Because it is. It has a momentary appearance, like a wave has a momentary appearance. And it's free of illness, and so it feels good. My sitting without any sleep feels good. By sitting, I think he's talking about when he's sitting in meditation, but I think, for Milarepa, whether he's sitting or standing, whatever he's doing, he is meditating. There's no not meditating. He is meditator. That's what he does. He is that state. There's no post-meditation like we have. So, my sitting without any sleep, he can manage without sleep. It feels good. My concept-free samadhi feels good. So when he's really deep into meditation, that's what samadhi means, a state of deep meditation. And it's conceptless. There's no concepts involved. Therefore it feels good. My chandali free of chill feels good. Chandali is this practice of having mastery over your internal energy, and that can produce body heat. So even if he's in a very cold environment, he might be in the snowy mountains, but he knows how to control his internal energy so that he's always warm. And you may have heard this practices where you can dry wet sheets. It's one of the ways of testing it. You can dry wet sheets. But anyway, it means inner warmth. So that feels good. He doesn't need to be lighting fires, apart from when he's cooking food, as we found out in the previous chapter. My austerity, free of dejection, feels good. So he's living in utter austerity. But that's his choice. That's what he wants to do. He's simplified his life to the point where we would consider it extremely austere. And we would be really dejected by not having our comforts. But he's chosen that, and he can live like that, and he can live happily like that. Feels good. That's what he needs. That's what he's got. My harvest that is free from toil feels good. So his harvest is not like when you go out into a field and sow crops and then harvest them, and ploughing and all the toil and work and energy that expanded in that kind of harvest. So his harvest is his mind, his clarity, his meditation, his enlighten, his realization. That's his harvest. And it's free of toil. I mean, now it's free of toil. I think it would have taken a lot of effort to get to that point. But not toil in the sense of, working like you work to do a worldly job or something like that. My isolated place, free of distraction, feels good. I'm completely isolated, I've got no distractions, and I'm happy. This is what he needs. So he feels good. And that's the state of his body. And then he goes on to the next verse, my yana. Yana, it means literally, it means like the vehicle. He's meaning his being, his vehicle in this life. So, in order, and the yana is his vehicle for, excuse me, for traversing the spiritual path. I mean, he is an incarnated person, and remember, in the past he was very naughty, putting it mildly. So, but this is his vehicle to traverse this path. He's come a long way. So this spiritual vehicle, you need skillful methods or means, and you need prajna, which is like wisdom. So you need wisdom and skillful means. And so he says here, with means, he means with skillful means and with prajna. He's got the wisdom and he's got the skillful means, so it feels good. My creation and completion in union feels good. So this refers to some Vajrayana practices, which there's something called, you're creating you're creating a world, you can say, how can I put this? Well, for example, when we do Chenrezig Puja, you create the Buddha field, you create the Chenrezig, you summon the Chenrezig, so that's the creation, and then we do this practice, and then the completion at the end, everything dissolves. So he's talking about that kind of thing. So my creation and completion in union feel good. So he's got that. My mindfulness, free of prana coming or going, feels good. So he's always mindful. And the energy coming and going, the breath, the energy coming and going, it doesn't mean that he doesn't breathe or he has no energy, but it's stable. That's what it means. It's not up and down or coming and going. It's steadfast. My silence, without friends to talk to, feels good. This is the state of my speech. He doesn't need social interaction. He's happy to give teachings to those worthy of them, but he doesn't need to chit-chat. And everything he says is so replete with meaning. There's no wasted words. That's the state of his speech. Totally pure, totally meaningful. My view that is free of identification feels good. So how he sees things, he's not like, oh, this is like this and that's like that. He just sees cleanly, clearly, not attributing this and that to it. At least that's what I think he means by identification. My meditation that's always flowing feels good. Always flowing, not off and on. My conduct that never degenerates feels good. Because he's so aware, he doesn't do anything wrong. He's in the state of enlightened being, so he doesn't make any mistakes anymore. Not like when in the past when he made a lot of them. Now he doesn't do any. He's totally purified and totally realized. So then he's no more accumulating karma because he's reached that level of perfection. So his conduct never degenerates. My fruition, without hope and fear, feels good. He's not bound by hope and fear anymore. So that's the state, this is the state of my mind, he says. Unchanging, non-conceptual luminosity feels good. I mean, we all we can do is try to use our imagination here as to how that might be, bearing in mind we're just imagining it. But maybe we can recognize it, even if we get well, it wouldn't be unchanging, would it, if it was just for a few seconds, but maybe there would be some tiny moment of non-conceptual luminosity, and maybe it's gone. But can you imagine that unchanging? That's how things are all the time? How? Great bliss. Great bliss in perfect purity space feels good. So he says it here, he's purified. Largely thanks to Marpa, remember? We put him through a lot to purify him. And so, because he's totally pure, there is great bliss. And that, of course, feels good. And unceasing manifestations in the expanse feels good. So even whatever manifests, it's not that the world stops, it's not that things don't appear to him anymore. Things do appear. But whatever appears, whether we would call it negative, we might think of it as very negative, like when you got invaded by obstructing spirits or people trying to kill you or whatever the thing, we would be scared out of our lives. Not him. He remains blissful because he's reached that stage of perfection. So nothing can disturb him. So whatever manifests, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, nothing disturbs. He is unshakable. It feels good. So this short little tune of feeling so good is just my experience put into song, just this little song. With view and conduct joined together, henceforth, you who strive towards awakening, whenever you practice, do it like this. Tall order, isn't it? So we've heard how Milarepa's state of his body is, how his speech is, and the state of his mind, and then also how the bliss of realized experience feels good, with the exhortation to those who strive for awakening to practice in the same way. That's what you need to do. And so when he'd sung this, the disciples said, "These ways that the Guru's body, speech and mind feel so good is marvellous. Where is it that all of this arose from?" And Milarepa replied, "This has all arisen from the realization of mind. Even though we don't have the kind of bliss that you have, we hope that we can have at least a taste of that." This is the benefactor, the student saying. "Please teach us Dharma that is easy to understand about the meditation, that is a method for this realization of mind and can bring about such bliss." So they're basically saying, well, that's all right for you. You're a realized being, but what about us? How are we going to do that, I think we can probably all identify with that feeling. Please teach us the Dharma that's easy to understand about the meditation that is a method for this realization of mind and can bring about such bliss as you have experienced. So in response, the Jetsun sang this song of realization, the 12 points of mind. So this is the fourth song. I bow at the feet of the noble Guru. You benefactors who wish to realize mind's nature, when you practice, do it like this. Faith, knowledge, discipline. These three, these are the life rod of the mind. If you plant it stably, you will have bliss. If you have a life rod, have it like this. No attachment, no clinging, no ignorance. These three are the armor of the mind, light to wear and weapon-proof. If you wear armor, wear it like this. Meditation, diligence, and endurance in hardship, these three, these are the stallion of the mind. When it runs, you will quickly escape to liberation. When you get on the stallion, do it like this. Self-aware, self-luminous, self-blissful. These three, These are the fruition of the mind. It's planted, then ripens, and is nutritious to eat. When you attain the fruition, attain it like this. These 12 points of the mind dawned within the mind of this yogi. You faithful benefactors should practice them. So he's giving them the key instructions of, you want to know how to do it? This is how to do it. 12 points. So let's go and look a bit more deeply into it. Bowing at the feet of Marpa. This in itself is a teaching, the way he behaves is a teaching. You benefactors who wish to realize mind's nature, when you practice, do it like this. So you need faith, you need knowledge, and you need discipline. This is you can't do it without these. So, and you can't manufacture it. It has to be authentic faith. It has to be knowledge. You've studied. You know what you're about. You need to use your intelligence, your knowledge. Look into things. And discipline. You need to keep it going. You need to be disciplined about it. And without it, you're not going to get the result. So you need these three things that are prerequisites. If you're serious, you want to do what I'm doing, attain what I have, you need faith, knowledge, and discipline. You really need these. And these are like the life rod of the mind. The life rod, this is a term, sometimes it's called the life stick or the life rod. And, if you, for example, in statues or in a stupa, they have this, if it's a stupa, then it would be a great big tree, a trunk, a big tree trunk, and it would be carved with mantras and things like that. Or if it's in a statue, it will be a very strong stick, and it will be of sandalwood or something quite precious, or the best it can be, and very strong, and it's inside, like the spine, you could say. But it's more of a spiritual thing, not just a physical thing. So this is the life rod of the mind. The faith, the knowledge, and the discipline, that's like the spine of your mind. It's essential. And if you plant it stably, you will have bliss. If you have a life rod, have it like this. You get the results when you have that. Without the three things, you won't. It's not possible. You don't have the wherewithal. So that's what you need, for sure. And then on top of that, you need not to be attached. No attachment, no clinging, no ignorance. Now, ignorance is the root cause of all the other defilements or subdivisions of ignorance, jealousy, pride, all of them come from ignorance. And of course that produces the attachment and the clinging. I like this, I don't like that. So, no attachment, no clinging, no ignorance. These three, these are like the armour of your mind. If you have that, if you've got that view, then nothing can disturb you, nothing can pierce you. It's like armour. It protects you. It's your protection. So if you put on this armour of no attachment, no clinging, no ignorance, it doesn't weigh anything. It's not like steel armour or whatever armour is made out of. It doesn't weigh anything at all. But it'll completely protect you. So if you wear armour, if you're going to have armour of any kind, make it this. Meditation, diligence, and endurance in hardship. These three, these are the stallion of the mind. When it runs, you'll quickly escape to liberation. You need meditation, you need diligence, and you need to have endurance. No matter what your situation, you can be in a comfortable situation, you can be in hardship, it's all the same. It doesn't matter. You need to have endurance, perseverance. Endure. And these are like, then if you have these, then you'll quickly, you'll escape from all the sufferings, you'll escape to liberation. When you get on the stallion, do it like this. Self-aware, self-luminous, self-blissful. These three are the fruition of the mind. You're not looking outwards for something on the outside. You have everything you need if you know how to access it, how to cultivate it. There's nothing from the outside. Of course, you have guidance on the path from your gurus, but you have everything you need. The guru cannot give you that even. He can point the way, or she can point the way, but it's up to you to develop what you have, cultivate what you have. Self-aware, self-luminous, self-blissful. Comes from within. These are the fruition of the mind. If you've done all the previous things and you've planted and you've purified and you've done all these things, then you will have this fruit. Of course, you have to do all the other stuff first. It's like when you plant something, if you don't water it, if you don't give it light, you don't get the fruit. So, it's planted, then it ripens, and it's nutritious to eat. It keeps you going. When you attain this fruition, attain it like this. You don't need more. These 12 points of the mind dawned within the mind of this yogi. You, faithful benefactors, should practice them. So, with these 12 points of mind, we have everything we need. We've just got to do it, don't we? These 12 points of mind dawned within the mind of this yogi. You, faithful benefactors, should practice them. It's all very well him saying it, but if you don't use it, what's the point? And on that note, maybe we should put it into practice. I think we've had a lot of words, so much instruction, such deep, such profound instruction. You've got plenty of time to do. You've got a month on these, but I think for now that's more than enough to be going on with. So while we've got Milarepa's words ringing in our ears, let's just sit with them. So sit in a good posture. Feet, if you're sitting on a chair, feet shoulder width apart, flat on the ground if you can. Come forward on the chair. Or if you're sitting on the cushion, well, whichever way you're sitting, the main thing is to have that straight back, your life rod. Straight but relaxed. And we'll just allow Milarepa's words to sink in, to absorb them. It's been many, many words, so I'm not going to start repeating them all again. We'll just rest with them, bathed in Milarepa's wisdom. Resting uncontrived, natural, spacious awareness. watching your mind. So that wasn't very long, was it? But we're out of time. Of course, when you're practicing at home, the main body of your practice should be the meditation. It doesn't take very long to read through things, but however you do it. But you study and then you meditate. You study, you meditate. You reflect, you meditate. You can keep alternating between the two because it's hard to maintain one for an extended period of time. But if you keep alternating like that, you can go a long way. So you look into, say, a couple of lines, you really go deep into it, you meditate on it, and then you get the next couple of lines and do the same thing. So, everybody has their own way, but basically if you alternate between sort of resting meditation and examination, you could say, or exploration, that way you can really get to grips with it and have a good session, a longer session than if you just tried to extend meditation beyond your capacity, so you're using the mind's kind of propensity to get busy, but you're giving it something really useful to get busy with what you're studying, basically. And so we've got 4 amazing instructions, key instructions to look at and study. And then we'll meet in approximately a month and progress on to the next one. But it's up to you. I'm not the Dharma police. I don't come around. It's up to you. You bear the fruits of however much you put in. What you put in is what you get out. I'm just presenting it and hopefully, sharing it with you. So that last song, as he was singing this, all the benefactors that had come, his students, gave rise to great faith and later served Milarepa fully. So they actually would serve him and bring him what he needed in his retreat, it seems. And then the Jetsun decided to go onto the almost snowy range. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get to another nice quiet place. So this is the cycle of the Jung Sky Fortress. So may it all go well with you, and let's say the dedication prayer. Dedicate our merit first before we part company. So there's a short prayer on the bottom of the page. We'll say it in English. So we share the merit with all sentient beings. May they all benefit. By this merit may I obtain omniscience, defeat the enemy, wrongdoing, and so free all beings from the ocean of samsara, with its stormy waves of birth, aging, sickness, and death. Okay, so thank you for coming, and if you have any questions, note them down, and come back next week with anything that, not next week, next month, with anything that you might need some help with if I can. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.